it's Omicron. Falcon hates puns and thinks that they're all wrong. One's American and one is an Aussie. Talking about StarCraft 2 and the esports scene.
Hello, how are things down under today?
Great, nothing went wrong at all, especially not with computers.
No, especially not. Things never go wrong with computers.
Absolutely never.
Not even once in the whole history of computering. But yeah, really. Are you recording this with your computer?
No, with my laptop.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So how's your PC these days? I've had some contact with you indicating there have been some problems.
It's running.
Good, wonderful.
It appears to be stable.
Excellent. So tell us the whole story. When did things go wrong?
So things went wrong when it just started, like, blue screening for no reason, seemingly.
Yep.
And then I would, that's weird, restart, and it'd be fine for a little bit. This went for about a day, right? Like, it happened, like, twice. And then it just started doing it every 5 minutes.
Was there a particular error code on the blue screen?
There was, but the blue screen would flash so fast you couldn't read it, right?
Oh, that defeats the whole purpose of the blue screen.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Bad. Excellent. Bad.
It's not great, but occasionally, every now and then, there would be an error that would pop up that was basically like, "Hey, insert a boot drive, right? So we can load up Windows or something."
Yes. Please give us something we can boot. Appreciate it.
And I'm like, okay, I think I know where the issue is on the boot drive.
That would definitely make sense.
So I am holding in my hands my former M.2 NVMe.
Delicious. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which, as far as we can tell, visually is fine. So we have no idea if it was this or the port.
Got it.
Because my motherboard has room for 2, so I bought a new one and plugged it into the second slot. After I did that, Windows refused to install on it, right? It was just like, nah, can't do it here.
Because you had 2 drives plugged in.
No, I took out the old one.
You did? Okay, because I've seen that problem when there's 2 drives and one of them has Windows and Windows is like, no, it already exists on this PC. Go away.
No.
Okay, so this is the only drive, the only boot drive, and it was like, no.
There was nothing on it. It was fresh out of the box. And Windows was like, nah, can't do it. Won't do it. It's not going to happen. Get over yourself, buddy.
Particular error messages there? Or?
There was, but the messages that, like, when we went to look up in the forums and see what to do, they weren't particularly helpful. They were always, like, listing other problems, like, oh, maybe you've got X, Y, and Z problems instead.
Okay.
There was one there that turned out to be very helpful, but we initially dismissed, and we shouldn't have. It would have saved us a lot of time. Because eventually what happened was we just unplugged all the other drives. So I've got 3 other SSDs in RAID and just a regular old spinny hard drive, right?
Yep.
We just unplugged them temporarily, and it was like, yep, we can install here now.
Okay, cool. Magic.
Yeah. So that was annoying. So this, the old one still has all the data that was on it, right? Because if we loaded up, like, when it would load, all my files and stuff were still there. So I've been spending, like, the last day and a half, signing into stuff and re-downloading Audacity and my Steam games. And Chrome, very lovely, lets me just sign back in as a YouTube user. And all my bookmarks are there, which is nice. Not signed into any of them, though. And they all have, like, 2-factor codes and stuff, which is just, when you got to do it, like, 12 times in a row for everything, it's kind of annoying.
It's true, but maybe it's better than, like, having your account stolen? I don't know.
Yeah, yes, it's definitely better.
Okay.
The second thing that was annoying is the second M.2 slot on my motherboard takes up a different SATA slot, like, configuration on the board, which meant I had to rearrange some of that stuff because it disables one. And because I had to rearrange them somewhat, my 3 SSD RAID no longer had the right configuration, like, because they had to move. So I had to format the RAID, and I lost everything on those as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Fortunately, there was nothing really on there that was just like most of my games, which is why I had to re-download games. The only game I actually had on the M.2 was StarCraft. So,
Okay.
you know, I've spent a couple days. Call of Duty, the new one, like the Modern Warfare remake or whatever, 160 gigs to re-download.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
How big StarCraft these days?
It's about 30, I think, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I had my housemate move that over from his PC, so that didn't take so long.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's what I remember being, about 30.
Although I would say, BattleNet is so dumb, so dumb. I went and I put StarCraft on my computer. I was like, look, locate the files. It's like, yep, here's StarCraft.
Hooray.
And then it was just like, no, but it needs an update. Okay, how big's the update? About 30 gigs. I'm like, that's not an update.
No! That's them saying, like...
Re-download it.
You did something wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, I can't work it out. I've tried, like, just redoing it. I don't know what to do. I'm like, fuck it. I'll just let it do the 30 gigs. Who cares? It gets 2 seconds into, like, the 30 gig update. And it's like, oh, nope, it's done. You're good.
Like, it can't verify things are cool unless it tells you it's wrong first. That's
Yes.
weird. That is messed up. Way to go. Way to go, BattleNet installer. 10 points to Gryffindor on that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Second level of annoying is I lost all my replays from StarCraft, and I had some I wanted to submit to various places.
Aw. Yeah, that's a problem.
So that sucks.
Yeah, because those are not put in the cloud at all.
No.
Not automatically, anyway. So let this be a lesson to everyone. Back up your stuff. Let
Yeah.
Somicron's story encourage you to get a stupid backup. It's easy. It's not super easy, but, like, seriously, you buy an external hard drive, you buy some backup software, done.
Mm-hmm.
Back up here, please. And it does.
Yep.
Anyway.
So possibly the only, some of the only unique data that I cannot get back is all the original recordings of the podcast.
So I was going to say, there are data retrieval programs and companies out there that will do their best at grabbing data off of a drive, especially if it's just like the part of the drive that's the boot record got corrupted, but everything else is cool.
Well, the problem is they weren't on the boot drive. They were on the RAID I had to format.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Okay, they're, well, I don't know, man. What kind of format was it?
It was like a quick format, and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure, they could still be there, but the other part of that is probably also never going to need that data again. Like,
Okay.
I was just hanging on to it.
Right.
Yeah.
For tradition.
Well, just because I don't know, it was mine.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so all the, like, I suppose right now, if the website failed and all of the episodes got deleted, there would be no backups at the moment.
That would be super bad. Let's
That would
hope
be
that
super
doesn't happen somehow.
Yes, I'm gonna, maybe after this episode, quickly go download 128 episodes of the podcast.
You have
Yeah.
fast internet. That won't take too long.
No, yeah, it shouldn't take too long. They're pretty small.
Excellent. Well,
Yeah.
good. That's the thing. Like, if this happens 15 years ago, you're like, but so much stuff is on the internet in some way or some form these days that it's much less painful.
It was like, I don't know, silver lining. It gave me a chance to properly organize some of my files.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that was like just kind of hanging out in my downloads folder, like D&D character art that I had made for Spires of Northgard, is now like got its own folder. In the pictures folder, which is now next to the podcast art that I've had done, and it's all neatly organized.
Excellent. Organization is beautiful. There are worse things that can happen, like your motherboard could have died. That would have been super annoying.
Sure, that would have been pretty annoying. Don't jinx it.
I certainly won't. I will knock on this probably wooden desk that I am sitting at right now. You heard it. It was
Yes,
loud.
I heard it.
Yes.
Although I would say this is now like, because I've been busy dealing with this and like trying to reconfigure everything, this is the only time where I'm now not one, not two, but 3 episodes of editing, including this episode of the podcast behind release.
Oh, that's not great.
Yeah, there hasn't been an episode out in like 2 weeks. So
True. I guess I didn't realize this would be the third one.
this is the third one. Yeah.
Crikey. Okay.
Yeah.
How can we make this one easier for you?
Well, I don't know. Cut it short a little, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe expect one every 2 days. If you're listening to this now, and there were 2 that came out very recently, it worked.
Congratulations, future person.
The funny thing is, when I was like, I had some spare time at work. The day of the crash, I was like, oh crap, I'm 2 episodes behind, just because of laziness at that point.
Yes.
I was looking for a GIF from Pacific Rim where one of the scientists is like, I expect a double event within hours, and I was going to put out 2 episodes that day. I got home, was like, let's get to work, it's going to be great, computer's dead.
You were all motivated, there was anticipation, and then...
And then throughout the last couple of days, I've been using my phone's heartbeat tracker and stuff to measure my heartbeat, and it also does like blood, not blood, oxygen saturation somehow, and like can determine your stress. At rest, my heart was 96 beats per minute.
Woo, zippy.
Which is pretty quick, apparently.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Stress. Also, your boss is dumb, so that's not good.
It's true. And I also had a family dinner, which meant I was dealing with kids.
Oh, you hate dealing with kids.
It's true. I mean, I actually got there, and because it was both my sister and my dad's birthday. Happy birthday to them, by the way.
They listen.
They gave my dad like a painting, and it was like all the handprints of my sister's kids.
Aww.
And they're like, and that one's Emily's. And I literally from home went, who's Emily? And I was like, oh right, my sister had a kid in January.
That's recent. That's recent enough. You're not supposed to keep that up to date on everything that's happening with your sister and her kids, honestly. Honestly. That's fantastic. Well, anyway, glad that's pretty much back up and running, all things considered. So in StarCraft news, trying to get to that earlier in the podcast, or at all recently.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that's the one thing that people listen to this kind of have in common. Most people. Like, we talk about different TV shows and whatever, but this is the one thing that I think everyone who listens has a general care for. Maybe not everyone, but most people.
Are we a StarCraft podcast?
I mean, people are here because I have a StarCraft YouTube channel, so...
Oh, way to snub me. They're not here for me. I get it.
Kind of?
No, it's cool. I would like to talk about StarCraft.
Excellent. So I sent you a link to someone who posted this on the StarCraft subreddit a few days ago called IEM Katowice 2020 in numbers.
It's pretty good.
It's really good. I hope this person does it for every premiere event for the 2020. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
One of the things I was more shocked about was that Zen was played 18 times. 18. Triton, by comparison, was played 94 times. Zen is getting vetoed hard in these tournaments.
Yeah.
And I really think it's just got to be because it's weird, right? There's just weird aspects of it. Your third base is kind of super wide open. You have to worry about this little area outside of your main base that isn't your natural. That's pretty good for cheesing, I guess. Anyway, annoying stuff.
I assume it's just a weird, annoying map.
Yeah, and pro players are just like, I have more to worry about than weirdness on a map. Let's just veto that one. Yeah. And then on the other side, the matchup win percentages were kind of interesting. Just looking at TVZ for the entire Katowice was a 56 win percentage for Terran and 44% win percentage for Zerg. Yeah. So I was reading the thread, and it's like, well, then how come we didn't? I mean, why didn't Terrans do as well as they moved further along in the tournament? And apparently, if you look at it, Protoss are taking them out.
Yeah.
Like, Terran overall is performing pretty well versus Zerg, but they're running up against Protoss and just getting crushed.
Yeah, Protoss OP. That's what I've been saying for years. Protoss need nerfs, Zerg need buffs.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what that... I mean, everyone agrees with that. I don't think anyone who would disagree. And then, Protoss versus Terran is a 53% win to a 47% win rate. And then Zerg is better than Protoss by 53 to 47. So... I mean, yes, I understand that Zergs have been featured in the finals of every Premier tournament since forever. I understand that. I understand they've won far more than their fair share. But if you look at these numbers, and I'm the StarCraft 2 balance team, I'm kind of okay with it. Like, this is probably as close as you can get to balance as far as overall win-loss in a Premier tournament goes.
There's a little bit of, like, confirmation bias. You found statistics that agree with what you want, and therefore, like, I kind of feel like that's going on, but I don't strongly disagree, just a little bit. I think that's looking at hard statistics on the matchup results rather than what happens in the game, because like if Zergs, like if there's just a Cyril who's better than everyone else and that's why Zerg is in every finals, that's one thing, but
when it's Dark and it's Rogue and it's Cyril and it's Raynor,
yes, right,
yeah,
so you need to be looking at what's going on in the games as well,
for sure.
Yeah, for balance. Like if you're asking, are the like matchup win-loss ratios balanced? Yeah, it's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and, I mean, part of the problem for my argument too is that this is the whole thing. This is like all 78 people that were part of the Katowice tournament. And so, sure, overall, Terran versus Zerg, 56% win rate, fantastic. But maybe a lot of that is at the lower levels, and these are Zergs who maybe aren't quite as good. As you get further on, you're looking at elite Zergs versus elite Terrans, and then the elite Zergs are doing much better.
I just noticed there was exactly twice as many PVZs as there were TVZs.
Oh, that is interesting.
118 to 59.
Yeah.
That's just interesting. It's not relevant in any way, but it's interesting.
I mean, it's a lot of Protoss, right? The two most common matchups were PVZ and PvP, and the third one was PvT. So, a lot of Protoss at Katowice this year.
There were 19 TVTs. I wonder how many of those were on Zen.
Right. Well, there were only 18 games played on Zen, so not all of them, that's for sure. I liked the next little section here where there were 37,000 Zerglings produced.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's a... I mean, was that individual lings, or how many, like, times of cocoon, like, a lava morphed into a cocoon and made them?
Yeah, it's got the minerals, so it's just that's individual Zerglings. But minerals was 900,000 minerals compared to 600,000 minerals worth of Marines were produced.
And
but then actually more Zealots. 1 million minerals worth of Zealots produced.
Yeah.
For only 10,000 Zealots because, they're expensive, but they're great.
Yeah, it's true.
And I feel like, I don't know, Zealots and Marines both have pretty good late game viability. Zealots in every matchup, I would say Zealots are going to be good. I can't think of a single matchup in StarCraft 2 where Zealots are just not worth making in the late game. But it's just, if you send 12 charge lots across the map at someone's base, they're going to have a hard time with it pretty much.
Yeah. It's definitely not something they can just be like, whatever.
Right.
Anyway,
they're good. The next section, I think, which is the last section, just fun facts. Couple of them that really surprised me. 435 disruptors shot 830 novas. That's 1.9 novas per disruptor. So for every disruptor that was produced, on average, you never shot twice. You got one, but you never got that second one, on average.
But I would like it to say what's the outliers there. I'd like to see the bell graph, right? Or the bell curve, where this disruptor fired 12 times, and maybe it killed lots of stuff, maybe it killed nothing. I was like...
But for that one, there are like 10 that got nothing done for the average to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Whew, that's crazy. I don't know. I feel like in every game that I've watched where there's disruptors, they get at least a couple shots off, but maybe that's not the case. They get the one, and then the Terran army stims forward and picks them off. Poor disruptors. Poor disruptors. Additionally, the queen information was interesting. Only 1.5 tumors placed per queen. I figured they'd be throwing down more tumors, but I guess maybe these days more of them are for base defense. You don't really have all of your 5 queens that you produced in the first few minutes out there throwing down tumors, right? You're saving up energy for transfuses.
Right. You really only need that one queen at the natural to put it down a tumor, right?
Yeah.
And then start it. And then that 0.25 is probably just oh, Terran cleared some creep. Let me go put down a tumor before it all recedes.
Right. But then we have the players that are the outliers that love their creep spread, and they're rolling with like 8 creep tumors on each attack path on the map.
Right. But Scarlet wasn't there, so.
True fact. Was not. And then 4,000 creep tumors spread by other tumors. That's 2.14 tumors per tumor, which is a little bit of, yo dog, we heard you like tumors, we put tumors in your tumor. Which, man, that's a depressing episode. So anyway, yeah, that was interesting as well, which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Each tumor can only replicate once.
It's true.
What is happening here?
That's 2.2 tumors were spread from the original one the Queen put down. Each tumor chain was 2.14.
Yeah, so we're following the family tree.
Yes.
They all come from the one tumor, the one true tumor.
Yeah.
And then it tumors, and then it tumors, and then it tumors, and we're just counting. Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, twice seems low. Doesn't it seem low? I just feel like creep spread is, on average, bigger than 2 tumors after that first one.
We can talk about on average
Yeah.
from what we remember all the livelong day, but without looking at any of the replays, maybe
True.
they were only that long.
Yeah. I mean, maybe a lot of these games were a big attack came and in the Zerg either defended it or didn't defend it. The game was over, right?
Right.
In which case, not a lot of time for creep spread. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I guess looking at the replays and trying to find ones to cast that are longer and more macro style, there don't seem to be a whole lot of those lately. So,
I mean, longer
than like 7 or 8 minutes.
Right, yeah. So I'm like, cause it's just like, it's constantly changing where longer meant like the 2-hour games, and now it's like, oh, a longer game is a 25-minute game. 25
minutes is really long. And especially considering, a lot of people think getting to late game against Zerg is just suicide. So let's try to kill them before they can get to Broodlords and Vipers and Infestors and stuff. So a lot of people are doing that, and that's a short game because either you succeed and the game's over, or you fail and pretty much the game's over, because it is hard to put that much pressure on a Zerg player, fail with it, and then survive the next 5 minutes. Yeah. Fair enough. So anyway, we'll put a link to this in the show notes. You can check it out yourself. I thought it was pretty fantastic.
It's good.
And
I like it.
I hope we get more.
Yeah.
From ESL. So when you were talking about your computer problems and you were all amped up and ready to work on the podcast, and then blurp, that reminded me, I've been watching Narcos Colombia over the last couple of weeks, which is, by golly, 3 seasons of 12-episode seasons, and they're an hour long each. It's a lot more than I thought when I was getting into it.
Okay.
But basically, seasons 1 and season 2 are Pablo Escobar, his rise to power, and then his fall from power.
Right.
So it's incredible the number of times that the military or the cops or the DEA, like America has DEA agents down there to help combat the drug stuff, they know Pablo's in this house, and then they go to get him, and he escapes. It's insane. They show up with like 3,000 people with assault rifles and tanks and stuff. Okay, not tanks. That's a little bit overkill. But it's a giant army. And then he's like, secret tunnels. I dug these months ago. Escape out of them. Drive away. I cannot tell you how many times it happened. It is the most frustrating thing of all time. Not of all time, but it's really frustrating. And towards the end of season 2... they discover he's been using this radio communication that he's encrypted, but we figured out how to break it. And so we find out where he is, and we get all amped up. We've got his voice. We know it's him. He's been hiding for years and years at this point, just on the run. No one's been able to find him. And they bust into this house, and he's not there. And it's just this giant... You're super amped up. You're ready to go. It's been such a long time. We finally got him. Let's nail this bastard. And then, blah. It's amazing. So if you're interested in consistently being let down by the results of your favorite TV show, Narcos Colombia, check it out. It's on Netflix.
All right.
It's really good TV. But man. And then, I don't know. I mean, It is based on true events because obviously Pablo Escobar is a real person. But you do have to wonder how much of it they sensationalized to create additional drama and tension for TV, right?
Right, of course.
I actually went through and did some Wikipedia searching on some stuff after I finished season 2, and there's this one character. She is a news broadcaster, like a, sitting at the desk, face on TV style person. And she kind of falls in love with Pablo and has an affair with him for years and years, and is kind of his voice for the Colombian national media. And in the show, she actually gets murdered by this terrorist group that is hunting for Escobar to kill him, and just killing anybody even tangentially related to him to try to break up his empire.
Right.
And they kill her, and it's a big shocking moment. And I was like, dang. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh no, she's still alive. And I was like, oh. She's fine. She did an interview in 2006.
Okay.
Anyway, it's great. So that whole thing brings up something I've been thinking about a lot the last couple of days, and I want to get your opinion on this too. So the story of Pablo Escobar is he is a hugely wealthy, what they call narco-terrorist, where he's dealing drugs. He's worth billions of dollars. He's incredibly powerful. He's additionally running around blowing up airplanes and planting bombs on street corners in cities across your country and just murdering people indiscriminately.
Okay.
So you, as the government, are entirely incapable of capturing this guy or slowing him down at all. Your military can't do it. Your local police can't do it. Your special forces can't do it. So after a while of this happening, this terrorist organization, who's been kind of running around in your country and neighboring countries, ostensibly, in this case, hunting communists and murdering them, they decide that it's in their best interest to take down Pablo Escobar. So they start doing it in a way that your government kind of legitimately can't do, right? Like, they're running around straight up murdering associates of Escobar. They're burning down laboratories, murdering the people within. They're not taking anyone to the police station. They're not giving anyone their rights. They're just straight up destroying Escobar's entire empire from the outside heading in. And innocent people are dying. The innocent son of his attorney gets brutally murdered just because he happens to be around when they go after the attorney. So as a government, are you like either A, kind of happy this is happening because it's actually getting closer to taking down Escobar, or 2, can you not accept the informal help of a terrorist organization, especially because innocents are dying?
Yeah, that one.
That one. So
Right.
you would publicly decry them.
Yeah, you have to, right? Because if you don't, you're basically saying vigilantism is okay.
Yes.
And if you have just everyone be like, well, this is okay, that guy cut me off in traffic, I'm just going to shoot him. Right? Right.
I mean,
that's very quickly opening the doors to anarchy, right? Especially if you then decide to enforce it later on something that isn't, that is maybe like more publicly, what's the word, like misrepresented. Like if you do something that the people really care about more, and then you decide to enforce on that, you can turn people against you very easily because it's them that's getting killed and now being arrested for fighting back when before it was just like the government wants to stop this thing. It turns into a whole thing very quickly.
Gotcha. So you're worried about the future consequences of even informally accepting terrorist activities just through your silence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I totally blanked for a second.
Yeah, no, you're fine. That makes sense. I feel like if this was happening in my country and had been happening for a long time, like years and years, and you are incapable of even slowing this guy down, I don't know. I feel like you'd be pretty desperate at that point. It's hard to put yourself in those shoes because neither of us have ever lived through that, obviously, right?
Yes. I mean, proxy wars are a thing, right? So I'm trying to think of like who's at the Gaza Strip because there are civilians there getting bombed and one side's basically proxy warring. Each side is basically proxy warring for like US and Russia is essentially how I've heard it like simplified, which is why when the US pulls out it's such a big deal that people lose their shits because it's like, well, we were like dependent on your protection and now we're all dying.
Yes.
And so the quote unquote good guys, as someone would try to spin it, if America is deploying troops to fight those or to support the good guys, then they need a reason for the bad guys to be bad. And the word terrorist gets used a lot, right? Like, they commit acts of terror, they bomb, they dropping sarin gas, whatever. This, that, and the other thing. But if they're also being backed by Russia, and are the Russians then, accepting the support of terrorists, in your opinion, to deal with their problem in a roundabout way?
Right.
Right. If the analogy there makes sense, because it's not something that I'm specifically fluently educated on.
Yeah.
Right,
No, it does. I mean, the concept of terrorist is incredibly emotionally charged.
Yes.
The same group can be definitely considered terrorists by one people and not considered terrorists by another people. They're freedom fighters, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it gets really sticky.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, from the sense that you have this guy running around your country blowing stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a huge organization, and then someone takes it into their own hands to take him down in ways that you can't because you're a legitimate government.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that's a rough thing. That's a rough place to be. And for the record, the Colombian government was just tactically approving of it by just never denouncing it,
Yeah. I'm not saying that if that were going on, the government couldn't be tactical about it, right? Being like, okay, well, let's wait until we see if they actually get this guy and then try and move in on them. Because if Pablo Escobar's in hiding, not really doing much, they can't get to him because he's digging tunnels throughout the country, just escaping every time. And this loud, noisy, messy group comes running through and they find him. You could probably find them a lot easier and then just clean up them.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying they can't be tactical about it, but I'm saying publicly they can't be quiet on it. I feel like you should you should denounce their actions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And part of the problem here is that, at least in the show, I haven't checked this one, but basically these dudes who their sole purpose was to kill communists, they wipe out Escobar and they kind of find themselves in possession of these drug labs. And they decide, this can't be too hard. So they basically start selling cocaine. What a mess.
Money is a powerful thing.
Yeah, it certainly is. The story of cocaine is a really incredible one. It starts in Chile, actually.
Okay.
And then the government is like, no, and just murders everyone who's involved in it. They shut it down hard. They have no concerns about human rights or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the dudes involved in it escapes to Colombia, and he finds these drug traffickers who are doing marijuana. And he's like, check this stuff out. This is way better than marijuana.
Was this covered in the first episode of Narcos? Because I feel like I remember this from the show.
Yeah, it's really early.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember some of this.
Yeah. And he's like, check this stuff out. This will sell for 4 times as much as cocaine. It's got a better high, et cetera, et cetera. It's more compact, so you don't have to... You can ship more of it for less.
Mm-hmm.
It'll sell for this much in Colombia. And the guys are like, you know what? If it sells for this much in Colombia, the U.S. will pay way more for it. There's way more money in that country.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right off the bat, the idea was we're going to send this to Miami and become stupid, filthy rich. And it totally works because America loves cocaine.
Yeah, Miami especially. I remember secondhand hearing from on another podcast they had watched a documentary about it.
Yeah.
Where lots and lots of the city infrastructure was built because there was the only people who were spending money there were drug lords.
Yeah.
And so the city kind of grew around the drug trade.
Amazing.
It was a thing before, but then it turned into Miami.
Yes, turned into what it is today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the TV show makes a really big point of being there were banks that were owned by the cartel.
Mm-hmm.
There are real estate businesses owned by the cartel, construction companies owned by the cartel. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. What a mess. And it does a good job too showing just different presidents throughout all this time. It starts with Nixon. It goes into Reagan, it goes into Bush, it goes into Clinton. It's just this ongoing decades long, Colombia is supplying Americans with this thing that they want and are willing to pay out the nose for. Dad jokes.
Didn't get it until you said that. Yes, that's funny.
Stupid brain. Accidental dad jokes are the best. To pay out the nose for, and the American government's attempts to stop it have just been utter failures consistently throughout all time.
Right.
And that's how season 2 ends, is the U.S. government takes one of these DEA guys who've been down in Colombia for decades, brings him home, and is like, look, when Pablo Escobar was at the height of his powers, 311 tons of cocaine were coming into the U.S. every year, as far as we can tell. Last year, when Escobar, his empire had collapsed, 345 came into our country that year. How? It's like, well, here's the problem. Escobar is not the only game in town. There are other cartels in that country who are very capable of making up for whatever Pablo's not doing, and then some. Oh, what a giant mess. I mean, there is not an answer to this, is basically the story of the show.
I feel like there is an answer to it. It's just not one, like, especially, like, the president would be happy to hear, especially, like, who was it that, like, announced the war on drugs? Nixon? Or was that Reagan?
Officially, it was Reagan, but Nixon had some pretty anti-drug stances, too.
Right. I'm not saying they shouldn't have anti-drug stances.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the war on drugs, of what it did was it targeted supply and not demand, right? And so basically, if you try and root out the demand for drugs, the supply will go away naturally, because you can't sell it if people aren't buying. And people generally don't like that line of thinking because it sounds very socialist. It's like, well, if we just make everyone's lives better, maybe provide free healthcare and, all this other stuff to make, like, get them, off the streets working again, because they're not dealing with chronic issues that are forcing, like, turning their lives terrible because they're paying out the nose for all the other shit and turning to drugs, or other cheap ways to get pain relief, maybe. It's just one of the ways you can kind of go about that thinking of removing the demand. And, people don't like that sometimes. There's a lot of pushback in America against socializing healthcare.
Well, sure, but you can't just say if we socialize healthcare, the demand for cocaine is going to drop to 90%, drop 90%.
No. Like, I'm oversimplifying it, right? There are other things that they want to do to, like, improve people's well-being, and healthcare is just, like, the example I'm giving. It's, like, that kind of reasoning that some people don't like.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Although I've always understood cocaine to be more of a designer drug, in that it's people who have a ton of money that are using it. I've never thought of cocaine as being like the poor communities are being racked by cocaine usage,
True. Yes, but I'm like, I know poor people who, they usually, like, they aren't the cocaine type, but, every now and then it works their way into their circles, right? So it's still, it's like a trickle down flow. The rich people get it, and then it trickles down. There can't only be incentives on trying to stop a supply, because if there is demand, the supply will find a way.
Yeah.
And that's what the war on drugs was. It was just almost entirely attacking supply.
Absolutely. And failing miserably, because Colombia is a massive country.
Like, even just like, okay, what if we take control of the demand, and then you, instead of just like completely outlawing it and attacking Pablo Escobar, you institutionalize it. You have cocaine clubs where people can, like, have their doses measured, and it's all formal and restrictive, and then you just make it yourselves, and then outside demand goes away, right? Outside supply goes away, right? It's a solution, right? One with theoretical benefits that we've seen with other drugs in other countries. I think it's Denmark or something does it with heroin or something to try and, like, help rehabilitate people, and it's seen good results. I don't know how, like, widespread it is, or if there's one. Who knows?
They really legalized heroin? That's one that I'm terrified of.
I might be misremembering.
Okay,
it's been a while, but there was definitely it wasn't marijuana, but it was definitely a Schedule 1 drug, or whatever it is your country calls them. it was one of the hard ones that they were like, yeah, we'll bring people in, we'll measure doses, make sure they're getting clean needles, the whole shebang. And then while we're there, also support programs and education facilities and job seeking and trying to help people.
Yeah.
All that other good stuff.
Yes. It is hard to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, I don't know, again, this is show. I haven't really fact-checked this whole thing, but one of the reasons Escobar kind of turned into the bombing madman that he was is he eventually wanted to be president of Colombia.
Okay.
Like, he manages to kind of sneak his way onto this political ticket for a congressman. The congressman wins and then abdicates, and Pablo turns into a, like, state congressperson for Colombia.
Mm-hmm.
And the DEA is like, no, we're not okay with this. Mm-hmm. We don't like the idea of a narco being able to change the laws of the country to allow this to be legal, because then who knows how bad the drug problem is going to get, right?
Right.
This is how they're seeing it. I'm not saying they're accurate and they're right about it, but... So they basically find this mugshot that Escobar had taken years ago, just kind of tying him to being a criminal, right?
Right, when he was smuggling TVs and stuff in the back of a truck. I remember that from the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So that happens, and basically the government's like, we're with you on this. We can't let a narco, a criminal, become a congressperson. And so they basically shame him out. They kick him out of it. And that's when he's like, screw you guys. I'm blowing all your stuff up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's about where I've seen you in the show.
Mm-hmm. You're like, that's very familiar.
Yeah, I'm very familiar. I remember the scene where they're all in Congress and like they're all wearing these like fancy uniforms with like a sash or something, and they're all talking, and then public comes in and they're all like looking at him, and then they like, I think they resign or they demand his resignation.
Yeah, they demand his.
Mm-hmm. Although I would like to say, there's a lot going around in American politics of foreign interference, and you guys have no problems doing it to other people.
True fact. We do it all the time.
Yep, all the live long day. Whether on the books or not. But, you know, it happens.
It does. So back to the cocaine thing, though, I want to point out, again, at least in the show, the reason they send the cocaine to Miami is not because Americans have bad lives and they'll get hooked on it.
Right.
It's because Americans have a butt ton of money. And they will pay $100 for a gram of this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. They didn't say, let's send this stuff to Brazil. Their lives are garbage. We'll make tons of money in Brazil. No, they said Miami because they're stupid rich.
Right, stupid rich in comparison. I mean, there aren't enough, like, just, like, you, to have, like, it as a hobby, you don't need to be making $2 million a year, right?
Right.
Like, doctors on, like, an 80K salary could probably afford it on the weekends, right?
Yeah, no, relatively better well off than most other countries, at least in their hemisphere, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm not saying they did it with the intent of targeting poorer people. I'm saying it made its way into the heads of poorer people because there was demand.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, in other gaming news, I did see this earlier today. Mm-hmm. So Reggie, former president of Nintendo America.
Sure.
Like, really popular guy, someone that people feel like did a great job.
Never heard of him.
Dang it, really? You don't know who Reggie is?
I don't care about Nintendo.
Oh, that's fair. Anyway, he ends up taking a job with GameStop.
Why?
I know! He has this tweet. The gaming industry needs a healthy and vibrant GameStop. I look forward to being part of the board and helping to make this happen.
Okay. All right. Two things. Isn't GameStop currently going under?
Yes!
And two, part of the board doesn't necessarily mean that he's stepping down from his role at Nintendo America.
No, he's retired. It's official.
Oh, he's retired? Okay.
He did that like a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I mean, sure. Yeah.
Look, GameStop sucks. Nobody likes GameStop. Everybody hated GameStop when they were huge and making tons of money. Mm-hmm. And now they're small and they're garbage and they will give you 10 cents for your used video game.
It's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do not know what I have an idea of what convinced him to join a sinking ship, and it probably involves giant barrels of money. But
Probably, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if he turns it around, good for him. All right, like
I will be super impressed.
yeah. I have a feeling. Well, not a feeling, a theory that maybe it's people like him that have pushed GameStop to where they are. All right, like companies that offer direct downloads to the consoles and stuff, like Nintendo.
Yes.
Are absolutely pushing brick and mortar stores out of business.
Yes.
And it's very interesting to see just how, like, well, not to see, but to guess at how much, like, how many tractor loads of money was that? How many barrel loads?
A lot. Again, sinking ship.
Yeah.
Like, for them to succeed as a company, they need a massive pivot towards something other than brick and mortar video game store. They do.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible for them to be saved and just be like a much smaller business.
Oh, sure.
Like,
just hack and slash. Absolutely.
yeah. Or even just in more, not remote. Like, it's hard to have a brick and mortar store in remote locations, but something that can definitely cater to places that don't have internet connections capable of downloading 160 gigabytes for Call of Duty. There's definitely a space that they could fill, a place where it would be a lot easier to put a dude in a car with a copy of a video game in it and get it to someone much faster than they could download it. It's possible. I think it's very niche.
Yeah, it is.
And definitely not what they were. So it depends on where he goes with the company.
Yeah, if he's like, look, we're going to close all of the GameStops in big cities that have amazing internet access because they're going to die anyway. Mm-hmm. We're going to move them to smaller towns and more rural parts of the country and the world and cater to people who still have dial-up.
They might still keep some stores in bigger cities, but not sell as much. They might just be trade-in places so they can move physical media around, right? Because if there's 20 million copies of a game and you don't have any way to collect those games and you're like, well, trust us, send us, we'll mail you a check. I think people would rather go and get the cash in hand, right? So they might keep some stores open, but maybe be as a hardware retailer and a trade-ins place. And which is essentially what they're doing now,
yes.
Right? But just not pushing the sales as much. Like, that's not their purpose. They're not there, to put on giant sales and launch events. They're just distribution and receiving specifically of pre-owned games. They're just hardware and, yeah. I can see it working because I want to see GameStop fail because they, to me, invented the retailer-specific rewards for pre-orders, right?
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. I feel like that was them. Because they were the biggest at the time, and they were like, oh, Steam is our biggest competitor. Well, guess what? You can get a Left 4 Dead 2 baseball bat if you pre-order here.
From GameStop, and only GameStop.
And only GameStop. And then that started happening here. And
gross.
Yeah, tons of stores, and it's, I don't pay enough attention, but I'm sure it's still happening. It's a whole big thing.
Yeah, probably. I was trying to think of an example, but no.
Yeah, I haven't seen any in a while because I don't shop around for physical games anymore. But definitely when I was getting into games, it was a big decision. Do I go to EB Games and get, the Death Mask for Darksiders 2? Or do I go to JB Hi-Fi and I get blah, 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 blah?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's Epic's business model, right? We're going to pay a bunch of video game developers to put their game on our platform exclusively for a while. So this is the only place you can get this game, and that is how we're going to grow our platform.
I mean, it's a similar marketing tactic, but in the differences with GameStop is you could go somewhere else, order GameStop, and still the game you would get is the same. They are squeezing out other distributors by buying up the game for timed exclusives. If you wanted a game on Epic, you literally can't go anywhere else for a year.
Right.
You can't. It's not even. It's not about the pre-order bonuses. If you want it on Steam, wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Or pirate it, which, I mean, there are some developers that I'm sure are very tempted to take a giant load of money because they need money, right? They can't run their studios for free. People need to eat.
Turns out,
yeah. This just in, developers need food and sleep and running hot water. So I can see why the deal is tempting for some people, but I think it creates a service problem where if people have their platforms and their libraries where they want their games, and you take a deal to be exclusive to one specific one, you're incentivizing people to pirate.
yes, very true.
Which is not something I think you should ever really do.
Yeah, I'd agree. Incentivizing piracy in the video game industry, maybe not great.
Yeah, no. There have been weird times where piracy becomes necessary or endorsed by the developer. Mainly with grey market key resellers like G2A. Developers have come out and said, we would rather you pirate our games than buy our keys off there. Because...
Wow.
because a lot of the keys bought there, the developers don't see any of the money of it anyway, right? Or they see less than what they should, and sometimes they get caught up in chargeback frauds.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge pain.
Yeah, so the developers who didn't make any money from the sale get their games like refunded or the credit card was fraudulent and have to end up paying money.
Yeah, they end up in the negative at that point.
Yes, so they come out and say, look, don't buy our games there. We'd rather you pirate them.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck, Reggie, at GameStop. I'm kind of interested to see what you're going to do.
We'll be keeping close tabs on you. Not really. We don't care. Well, I don't care.
If something big happens, it'll show up on Reddit anyway. We'll find out.
Oh, yeah. Yes. But even then, we don't need to keep close tabs.
No, we do not.
No, I don't need to follow GameStop on Twitter to, keep an eye on this.
Yeah, please don't anyone do that.
Why would you follow Why does GameStop have 1.2 million followers? Why? Tom Cruise gifts?
Do they have Tom Cruise gifts?
Yeah. GIF.
Oh, it's only one GIF. Never mind. If there were multiple, I'd feel better about it, but one, honestly. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Well, let's wrap this thing up, unless there's anything else you wanted to cover this week.
Nope. That's it.
Excellent. All right, well, thanks for spending time with us this week on the Falcon Paladin Hour with Summicron and Falcon Paladin. Please consider checking out the Patreon and the merch store. And until next time, as always, thanks for listening. You take care of yourself.